could have a similar opinion.
Alrighty, so how bad was the pay struggle when you served?
How bad was the pay struggle? Well, I don't know that I ever really thought about what it paid. And if that was important to me, I probably never would have gone in the military. When I first went in to the military, I enlisted in 1983. And as an E1 going to boot camp, we made about $571 a month. That was for the whole month. We got paid twice a month. And by the time I left the Marine Corps, about 12 years later, I was making probably around $1,400 a month. But I also lived in the barracks. I ate in the chow hall. So my living and my utilities were paid for, and my food was paid for, and I wore a uniform most of the time, so I had clothing. I never was going to get rich being in the military, but I never felt poor being in the military. I always had everything that I needed. It seems like the Marine Corps and the Navy took care of everything, but when you look at it compared to what civilians were making, we didn't make a whole lot of money.
So how do you get your information besides the news on the military?
Well, that's a great question. The news that we see on TV and on the radio really just talks about whatever the big stories are of the day. But of course, there's a lot of things that are happening all over the world. I get the Marine Corps Times, which is a newspaper that comes out once a month. And it talks about the big stories, things that are of interest, mostly to those who are on active duty or in the reserves. It talks about fun stories, history stories, veterans that are being recognized for things they did in previous wars. But one of the things that it often also tells you is what's the current structure of the Marine Corps and where are the units located around the world. Now, for most civilians, that won't mean a whole lot, but for those of us who are in the Marine Corps, we know that it's a pretty small branch of the service, and so we know what units exist and where they're at. And so by reading the Marine Corps Times, I can see where the Marine Corps is located, where they're sending people overseas, what they're doing internally, what improvements they've made, what training they're doing. That will oftentimes give you a clue as to something bigger's happening. And so it may not necessarily be in the news, but where a unit might be deploying to will tell you a lot that something's going on in that part of the country or that part of the world, and might cause you to look a little deeper for some of the stories that you might not see in the regular news.
So, what did being a Marine teach you?
Being in the Marine Corps taught me priorities. It taught me what was important and what I should focus on. And one of the things is dedication, commitment, the idea of community, being obligated to other people other than myself. We talk about integrity and honor. Those are all things that we learn, but the biggest thing is accountability to each other on our teams, to make sure that the community of Marines and sailors that I worked with, that we all took care of each other. And that is probably one of the most important things that we get out of the military, is finding something that's bigger than ourselves that we can commit to and be part of and be proud of.